I occasionally get students who, when they have to use regression results to come up with some estimated values of their dependent variable, they end up coming up with numbers that are a little different from what I have. And I think most of the time this happens because people are just using the numbers that are showing up in their results as they are. And so they'll say, well, I want to figure out, and I'm using my e-commerce sales from the Chapter 7 practice problem. Let me just do a simple one. I'll do this one here. It'll be easiest. So I have these results here, and if I wanted to predict what the sales would be in the first quarter of 2017, well, you can see the top of my table here, where the value of t is 70. And so if I wanted to use this equation here, or this set of results, to do that, I think what a lot of students are doing is they'll say, well, and I'm just going to type this out manually so you can see it. They'll go, okay, I'm going to do 6516.04 plus 1333.405 times that t of 70. And they'll type in an equation like that. It's not going to work because I put spaces in there. But if I did that, 6516.04 plus 133.405 times 70, I get some value here. 86,822. Well, let me show some decimals just so I can be a little clearer what's happening. I can see a value here. Let me show some decimals here. Well, what I have here is different from what I calculated down here. So why is this number different? Well, it's because when I calculate it, I could change the values that are showing up in my results here just by squeezing this column a little bit. So I squeezed it down, and suddenly I'm losing a bunch of decimal places if I squeeze it enough. And so then you'd be like, well, now it just looks like equals negative 6516 times 1333 times 70. And that's going to give me even a different number. Plus 1333 times 70. That gives me a number that's quite a ways off from what I had originally. This 86,794 is a lot farther off from 86,822. Or I could say, well, okay, I'm going to just go like this and make it super huge and give me tons of decimal places. Well, aside from having to spend half of your life typing in decimal places in your answer key, this is still not going to be completely correct because you're just rounding to however far apart your column is. So what I do when I want to calculate these things, the way that I calculated it here was to not just look at these numbers and retype them, but I just reference those cells directly. So I say, well, I know I want to reference the value that showed up that Excel is calculating for this intercept. So I'm just going to reference it directly and say B99 plus I'm going to reference the coefficient on T directly, so that's B100, and then times, you could put 70 in there or type it in yourself or just reference that cell up here. So I always like referencing the cells as much as I can because it's going to be a lot more precise than me just typing in the numbers, because I'm by default I'm going to round it at some level, whereas Excel is not going to round it as much as I am. So to the extent that you can, I may ask about rounding when I'm telling you to put your answer into Moodle, but as much as you can, don't round and keep referring to the cells that you have when you can. And if you do have to round, just wait till the very end and do it there. So if you calculated this thing and you say, well, I think my answer, once I refer to the cells themselves, the answer I get is this 86,822.297. And if I ask you to give me an answer that's, rounded to the nearest single digit without any decimal places, then you can say, okay, well, that's just going to be 86,822. So at that point, you can round. Before that, don't do it. Just refer to the cells directly. It'll make things a lot more precise for you. And that's how I do it when I come up with the answer keys too. So to avoid situations where your answer looks a little bit different than mine and you're trying to wonder why, just refer to the cells as much as you can.